skydiving. This is amazing.
Yeah, but you know what else is amazing? An iPhone 6S for just $49 at Metro.
Really?
Imagine streaming all the way down with that amazing camera. I'm switching.
That's smart.
You know what else is smart? Parachutes.
Switch to Metro and get an amazing iPhone 6S for only $49. Metro by T-Mobile. Phone offer requires port-in of number not currently active on T-Mobile network or active on Metro in past 90 days. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. This show is all about life transformations and our journey from where we were to why we are doing what we are doing today. We will discuss the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that has been poured out while discovering our purpose. It is all about our transformations. Here is your host, Sean Douglas.
Welcome, my friends, to another episode of Life Transformation Radio. I am your host, Master Resilience Implementer, TEDx speaker, business positioning strategist, and author, Sean Douglas. This show is currently heard in over 66 countries, including the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the UK, Sweden, all the way to Russia. So I want to thank you to those who are listening from around the world. Life Transformation Radio is all about our transformation. Here is where we tell the stories of why we're doing what we're doing. We highlight that transformational moment that has changed our lives and how we use this to help transform others and elevate their lives as well. You can listen to us live right here on Blog Talk Radio at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Tuesday through Friday. And look out for special episodes at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. On my show are entrepreneurs, speakers, podcasters, authors, content creators, amazing people that are doing incredible things in the world. And my guest today does just that. If anything that we talk about resonates with you, you can subscribe, rate, and review the show on iTunes, Spreaker, TuneIn, Player FM, Google Play Music app, Overcast, CastBox, wherever you're comfortable listening to podcasts. I ask that you subscribe, rate, and review the show. You can also join our Facebook community, Life Transformation Radio Community, and not miss a show. So, without further ado, please help me welcome to the show my friend, Bonnie Bruderer. What's happening?
Hey, how are you? Oh my God, I can't believe so many people tune in from so many places. That's so fun to listen to.
When I first got my couple, especially when overseas, I was like, this is cool. Like, somebody messaged me from the UK and go, I love your show, mate. I'm like, this is awesome. Like, I don't know. I guess we live in our own world, you know?
Yeah, exciting. Well, I'm so happy to be here. I've just been all over. I just came back from California, and today I'm here in Miami, and I was really looking forward to joining everyone today.
This is amazing. So we met at Steve Olsha's event, New Media Summit. And yes. Steve and I had a conversation earlier this year after the April one. It was like around June, July-ish, you know. And I was like, man, I don't remember what we were talking about, but we got on the subject of, what's the future? And it was so funny because I was like, dude, somebody needs to make like the Netflix of podcasting, like on a TV or like somewhere like on the internet, a directory somewhere. He's like, well, I mean, we have the podcast directory, download thing. I was like, no, like now you watch Amazon Prime, right? Like the Amazon Fire TV, or you watch like Netflix, like just scroll through podcasts. Like that needs to happen. And not even a month later, I'd mentioned it again. He's like, dude, you need to be at the next media summit. Just be there. I was like, okay, I'm going to be there. And then you were there, and I was like, no way, it does exist.
Oh, my God. I know. I love Steve. I couldn't be a bigger fan because he just brings so many great people together. And when I heard when I heard you say that, I was like, oh, we should have named it Bingeflix or Podflix or, like something like that because I love the way that you phrased it. Like we came from the video perspective, and that's what we created, and it works very perfectly for podcasting. But then to hear you as a podcaster and someone doing so well in the industry express the need for it, it was really exciting for us.
Super fantastic, and I cannot wait to dive in. So the title of this episode of Life Transformation Radio is titled The Future of Podcasting and Content Creation with Bonnie Bruderer. Bonnie is a film and TV producer with over 700 television segments and the writer, director, producer of the documentary Influencer on the social media generation and the advertising industry. With a strong background in technology and media, she started her career at companies like City Search, NBC Internet, Active Networks, and learned firsthand how to build and sell emerging media. She worked for 2 decades touring with some of the world's top personal development gurus, including Tony Robbins, Harvey Mackey, and others. She founded Binge Networks, which is a multi-channel media network for creators and brands with syndication on 50 top OTT television networks. The company has a proprietary technology that can instantly get any video content featured in outlets all over the world. She's a kickboxer, an avid dog lover, and an auntie, and has starred in multiple fight movies. And I was like blown away when I read that. Has starred in multiple fight movies. She is also a four-time author and holds 10 certifications in human potential and coaching, including Columbia University's Executive Coaching Program. If you want to learn anything else about Bonnie, about Binge, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, it's all right there. Go check it out and research Binge Networks and get on the network. It is going to be massive. This is the new future. I believe this is the new hotness. So, Bonnie, my first question for you is, what is your why? Why do you do what you do?
Let's see. I have so many whys, but mostly I was a content creator and I came from television. I had a cable show in New York City, and I was putting my heart and my soul and all of my paycheck and everything into creating this show. And unfortunately, nobody was watching it. It was like, we were on cable, we had a primetime spot that we got an audience for, but we would throw it up on YouTube and we wouldn't get any views. And I was like dumbfounded because, here's a kid with a skateboard and an iPhone and he's getting millions of people following him, and we were putting like $10,000 into a production and people weren't watching it. And so I realized that there was a hole in the industry and there was a need for people to have distribution on outlets where there were viewers and where people were consuming content. And so that's really what led me. I didn't want anyone to experience the pain and the agony that I had as a content creator. And that's really why we created Binge and what we have today.
I love it. I love it. So what was that? Do you remember that transformational moment? Do you remember the moment where you're like, you know what? Enough is enough. I got to do this. Did you remember that moment?
Yeah. You mean like when I was doubled over and wanted to throw up because I was so stressed out because they didn't know how I would pay the bills and how we were going to move forward, and that I thought that our company was failing? Yeah, I remember. Totally. Oh, that feeling. It's like I can go back there in a second. So yeah, I mean, I was about 2.5 years into our business. We produced over 700 shows. Production is very expensive. It is very time consuming. It requires a lot of attention. There's a lot of room for error. And this one day I was out for a run. We were in the middle of production for the movie Influencer, and I think I needed to come up with like $10,000 by the end of the day, and I had nothing. And I was literally like doubled over wanting to throw up because I was running on the Hudson, and I was just like, I can't keep going the way that I'm going. This isn't working. Like, it's not getting me where I want to go. And it was almost like a lightning bolt that hit me that said, your value is in distribution, not in production. And there was no lightning. It was just freezing. But like, I went home and I talked to my team and I said, all those contracts we have for distribution for our show, how many do we have? We must have like 7 or 8. And my assistant put it all together and he said, we have 30. And I was like, F off, what? Like, I hadn't been focused on that at all. We've been focused on creating content. And as a team, we looked at, oh my God, that's tremendous value. Some of these networks have like tens of thousands or tens of millions and hundreds of millions of subscribers. Like, how can we turn what we've created from my own show into a product for other people and a service for other people? And so that's when it hit me, and that's where we've evolved to today, almost 2 years later. into offering distribution as a service. But yeah, it literally was a moment where you have that bifurcation point where you feel like I can't keep doing what I'm doing, but something has to change and I'm not willing to give up.
I love that. You know, a lot of times we see the success of people on Facebook and social media and the email list. We see them at events. They look so amazing, but they don't know the backstory. Not even 2 years ago, two years ago, you are doubled over and you are just like your wit's end. So sick and tired of being sick and tired, freaking out about bills. 2 years. That's so amazing. And so I love listening to the transformational moments that people have, because those are the moments that someone right now listening is searching for. I need that moment to come where it shifts, where something happens, where I make the change, and then I'm on this next path. So I appreciate you sharing that, and I absolutely love what you guys are creating, and I was super excited, to hear about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be big. So.
Thank you. Yeah. No, I think every entrepreneur gets there, and it's just a matter of knowing what you push through and how you do it in order to create that success. Yeah.
Yeah. So can you explain to us how Binge works? I know you talked a little bit about it over there, where you have an app on smart TVs is one of the things that I heard, or you can get it on a smart TV. So can you explain, what the Binge network is?
Absolutely. Yeah, so it's a couple things. Number one, if you go to bingenetworks.tv, you'll see it's a streaming media platform. So just like Netflix or Amazon Prime or Hulu, you can go there and you can watch over 6,000 shows that you can find, content on food, on podcasting, on basically anything you want. There's dogs that have their own shows. I mean, really any kind of content. Then from a creator perspective, whether you're a podcaster or a video creator, what we offer is a syndication service. And so when you upload any video to your Binge channel, what happens is it automatically gets broadcast out on at least 50 different smart TV and OTT outlets. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar what that is, that's just fancy words for places like Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire. Like all of those places are what is called smart TV or OTT. And the way that we do it is we built the bingenetworks.tv app into all of those places. So when you buy a TV at Best Buy or online, we just had Black Friday, you buy it online, it arrives to your house, the Binge Network app is already built into that smart TV. So it's just a matter of pulling it up and there's your content. So we basically are able to get people's content in front of millions of potential eyeballs that they're not reaching on social media or through other syndication platforms. We also have go ahead. Sorry.
No, I say that's amazing, because now the podcast app is in the car, and there's apps like that's what's the new thing, and you guys are capitalizing on that. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, we were really first in. No one knew what we were talking about for the first couple of years. They're like, what? What's a smart TV? What? And now it's like the buzzword, the rage. Finally, the conversations become less about the education of the industry and more about like, hey, here's what we can do for you. But then also what's really exciting, and this is like really, you asked about the why for the first question, this like really gets me up in the morning and jazzes me, is that we've added in monetization. So now a content creator, again, podcaster or video producer, can earn revenues on their content. And what that looks like is you can set up, your channel to where, just like Netflix, it's pay-per-view. So you can either do it as a subscription, so that people say, hey, it's $9.99 a month to get on channel, and here's all this great content, and you can only find it here. Or you can set up certain content that's free and others that they purchase. So just like they watch a movie, maybe they get a special training that you do that's, $49 or $2 or whatever the case may be. And then we pay our creators a 70% commission. So, we've got people with movies and concerts and all kinds of things on there. And then every month we're writing a check to them saying like, hey, here's your check for people watching your show on Binge and all of our channels. So that's really exciting and really, what drives us here as a team going into this next year.
Love that. Yes. So where do you see the future of podcasting and content creation? Is this the future, or is this just the beginning?
So both. I think this is the future and it's just the beginning. And what I mean by that specifically is that, when podcasting, everyone's talking about it, right? Everyone is like, yeah, I got to have a podcast. But if you dig deep into the research, only 29% of the population has ever listened to a podcast. So you're leaving 71% on the table. This helps you access those 71% of digital consumers that are already out there consuming other types of content. But also, so that's sort of the future piece of it and the site, kind of where we're headed and where we are. But then also, to your point, people are starting to consume podcasts in other ways. And what I've heard is, there's frustration with some of, going to your podcast, you have to go to a specific app, then you have to get it, and then, there's all these hoops. Whereas this can just be a new site, a new app, you can consume this on Apple, you can consume it on Roku, wherever your preference is, we're now making podcasts available. And what we're finding, and I even do it myself, on a Saturday morning, I'll pull up a show and I'll clean the house for 3 or 4 hours and it just loops. It just keeps going to the next one and to the next one. So it's really, just making your content consumable to the people that want to consume it. And you will definitely still have your podcasters that love that purple button and they go get it there. And you can access all these new markets that you're not already tapped into.
Right. So I'm kind of worried about, like you said, I'm going cleaning the house, whatever, because aren't they missing half the content? You know what I mean? If they're listening to and they're washing dishes or whatever, are they really listening to consuming the content? You know what I mean?
I think so. I mean, it's kind of in my opinion, it's like when you read a book, right? If you read a book and then maybe you go see the movie and it doesn't follow exactly, but when you're reading, you have to actually, it's active. You have to make pictures in your head of what you think that's happening and what that looks like. And I do the same thing with podcasting. I actually listen so more intently than if I had a video on and then I'm listening the visual component of it. But for a podcast, I'm locked in to what they're saying because I feel like I have to concentrate harder to get the message. And, that's sort of the trend is what we're seeing is that people are actually choosing to consume podcasts, even though it's just maybe a static image or a WAV file, they're consuming it on these medias for that reason.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I don't even listen to I haven't listened to the radio in a long time. I just listen to podcasts. I have my favorite podcasts, which is Steve Olsher's Reinventing Radio and the 8-Figure show that he does. I love those. God, Christopher Lockhead, Legends and Losers is one of my favorite ones. But a lot of the icons that go to the New Media Summit, I love their shows. There's a bunch of speakers because I'm a speaker, so I listen to Grant Baldwin's Speaker Lab podcast and Jane Atkinson. I listen to her podcast, her speaker podcast. But I mean, that's what I do. I listen to podcasts while driving, and it's right on my phone. It's Bluetooth right to my radio. So the listening habits are definitely changing, definitely. And you can take the podcast anywhere. What I'd love to see is a program you said static image and everything like that. So repurpose.io, what that'll do is it'll take your podcast and make a video of it, put it on YouTube and put it on Facebook, and it takes your podcast, instead of having a static file, it has that waveform. It has different video. I'm wondering if there's a way, maybe a slideshow video or I'm asking you personally, how do you prefer to consume the content you consume? Is it video? Is it audio? Slideshow?
Yeah, so and actually Repurpose.io is one of our partners, and they created a syndication tool to publish directly to a binge channel. So we have that same functionality that you can publish directly from a Facebook Live or any type of podcast MRSS feed. So with me personally, like I have no problem just listening to the audio. And when you see all of the podcasts, we have literally thousands of podcast episodes on binge. And those are all done with Repurpose with the WAV file. Like both of Steve's podcasts are done that way. Yeah, so that's great.
So Repurpose does go to your channel.
Yep, oh, absolutely, yes. And
that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'd say 99% of our podcasters are using Repurpose and publishing that way.
Wow.
There are some bigger networks that warrant taking a serious look at that do only syndicate video. So, for example, Roku is one of our partners, and it's one of the largest distribution platforms to consume video it is the largest right now in the world as far as OTT and smart TV goes. And they just require video. They won't do the audio just because they found out their listening audience or their viewing audience doesn't like it that way. So what we've done is we've started to take even some of the podcasts that do have a video component, and we're doing standalone channels. So we have, I think, probably 20 of our binge channels that are a standalone, meaning like we would make like the Steve Vulture channel, and it's just that. There's no binge attached to it, but it's powered by binge. So we're feeding them the content, but people are consuming it, via video that way. So there's sites, my point being is that there's sites that are worth taking a look at and worth seeing, hey, do I want to just throw a camera up and film myself making my podcast because it might open up new worlds that I'm not already tapped into.
Right. And, I've seen like Christopher Lochhead. So for Legends and Losers, he has the audio, he has the website, but he'll also do like Facebook Live for a portion of the show. And so he's hitting the video, he's hitting the audio, and then the video is transcribed. So it's almost, and I've seen this a lot with like Be Live TV, where they go, or Zoom Webinar, where they go live to Facebook, they go live to YouTube Live, and then they're hitting all these videos. That's kind of like what you're talking about, right? Like we're filming our podcast. You can hear us, you can see us, so.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And again, it's not like any more effort on your part. It's a little bit different. You might have to throw on a baseball cap, or if you're a woman, you have to throw on some lipstick. But aside from that, it's not really anything different to what you're already doing. It's just adding that element so that the people that want to consume video consume it that way.
Yeah, 100%. So how does that work with like the iTunes? We put iTunes on a pedestal like, oh, well, iTunes has me ranked at this. Or my episode, or I've got these many listeners and these many, you know what I mean? Like we've said that if you haven't breached the top 200 on iTunes, you're not one of the top rated podcasts or whatever. So do you feel like that's not the standard anymore? Like how would you as a podcaster rank your show if you're not hitting iTunes anymore because everybody's consuming on binge?
So here's my advice, like just in general, and I think that this is important for anything that you're doing. I'm never for or against like one thing. What I am for or against, like I think the de facto standard right now, that's what people are gauging their metrics on. I think it's very dangerous, and we've all heard this since we were little kids. Your mom probably said, like, don't put all your apples in one barrel. And what I think about that is, like, any of these people, we've seen it, oh my God, we're seeing it right now with YouTube, and we're seeing it with Facebook. When you throw everything in one barrel, one basket, one platform, it's very dangerous because they then control the success of your show. So, there's people on YouTube that all of a sudden they change the algorithm, and they might have been making millions of dollars a year, and now some of them effectively have gone to nil. And we're seeing that on Facebook too, where they keep changing things, and effectively they control your business and your paycheck and your livelihood. So my advice to that is to diversify as much as possible. So yes, absolutely win the game you're playing. So if it's Apple and you want to get in the top 200 shows, do whatever it takes to do that. But also make sure you are on other platforms, you're controlling where that revenue stream comes from. I don't suggest that anyone just go 1,000% into binge because, who knows what the future holds. Maybe there'll be an acquisition, maybe something else will happen. But you want to be in control of what's going to drive your success. And so if it is just reviews and it is downloads and that's what's creating a revenue stream, we'll continue to do that and diversify. If you're looking to, monetize and to be able to bring in sponsors or to be able to do that, then also look at binge and look at other platforms that can help you accomplish that.
Perfect. Yeah, no, I love that answer. I feel the same way. I'm like, well, if you're only trying to hit the top iTunes, like if that's what we as a community somehow have decided, then I guess if you never hit it, then I guess you don't have a successful show. But I know a ton of podcasters with amazing shows. Like I don't see Grant Baldwin's Speaker Lab podcast on the top 200. Like I don't see his, but he's one of the top rated shows. I know he is because you can see all of the reviews. You see he tells you, how many people are listening, like the whole thing. Like I know so many speakers that listen to his show because he's carved out that niche of the speaker. And so I found something called Podlink. And Podlink, you can type in your show and you can actually find out where your show is being listened to. And I went to Player FM and I wanted to put it on there. So I manually put it on there. I contacted Google and I was like, hey, I really want to have my show on the Google app because that's how I consume podcasts. I don't go to podcast apps because I have an Android. It comes with the Google Play Music app. And so I just search for the podcast that I want, and that's literally, I subscribe to it right there. So I'm on the Google Play Music app because of my listening habit. But what I found on Podlink is that there's an app called Overcast and Castbox and all these other ones I've never heard of, but it literally lists every single place your show is being listened to. And I had no idea that these other places existed. So I kind of changed my thinking a little bit. I'm like, well, if there's so many podcatchers, why am I so consumed with I have to be on the top whatever of iTunes and I have to be like what I was like, I'm like you. I'm like, I'm going to put my stuff everywhere so that I'm hitting everybody I can.
Yeah, and we all think that too big to fail, all these things, but look at just in our lifetime, in the last look in the last 24 months, things that have happened. So there were people that bet the farm on Vine, and there's no, they were the top person and they were killing it and making money, and it went away overnight. Look at Snapchat. I mean, there were people that were rocking that and killing it and the best in the world. And then when Instagram added story features and other things, they instantly went, to nothing. So not Snapchat in general, but I'm just saying particular people that were influencers on those platforms. And so you just have to be smart about it, and you have to run something like your podcast as a business. And you wouldn't do something like that in a brick and mortar business. So why would you do it in this medium? And I think that's where the mistake most people make is they're doing it as a passion or a hobby, and maybe it starts that way, but the second you have some traction, you need to look at it as a business. And and that's where platforms like ours and others come in handy, is that it does allow you to diversify and create multiple revenue streams.
100%. Yep, 100%. So for the listeners listening, if anything has resonated with you, look at the show notes and click on the social media links right there, or you can go to the website. What is it? BingeNetwork.tv. Is that right?
Yeah, BingeNetworks.tv.
BingeNetwork.tv. Go to BingeNetwork.tv and look at this amazing, amazing program. And also, if you have any questions for myself or Bonnie, you can call in right now at 657-383-1109. Again, the number is 657-383-1109. If you have any questions for myself or Bonnie. And so I really want to know some of the resources that you guys offer. So for somebody listening, they're kind of on the fence, like I have a podcast, but I'm not sure, is this right for me? Talk about some of the resources that comes along with having the channel right on your network.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's Binge Networks with an S. I don't know if I said it. Binge Networks with an S. So Yeah, so the resources, I mean, firstly, of course, the channel and the syndication. That's the biggest thing that we can offer to people is instantly having your content. You know, you put your podcast or videos up one day, the next day you find that same channel on Apple, on Roku, on many others. We also have a full customer service support team. So you have a channel manager that works with you on getting your channel built out. They can answer questions. You know, she manages hundreds of channels, so she can share some best practices and what works and what you should be doing. We also do social media, so we circulate all new shows that come onto the platform on our social media platforms and help get the word out and get the buzz out. And then the monetization. If you do our pay-per-view package, then you can either set up your channel right now, offering content that's, you know, with a fee, like whether it's $9.99 or $2,000, and we have all of it on there. And then starting in January, we're offering the subscription base, which operates like Netflix, where you can say, hey, it's $9.99 a month, and you get all open access to my content, or it's $1,500 a month, or whatever you set, and get a 70% revenue stream for you every single month.
I love it. Completely awesome. And what I love about it is that, and I keep thinking about this, you said only 29% of the people have consumed a podcast. And I know we talk about how many shows, you know, like the average amount of shows right now that are active is about 115,000. And then there's close to 500,000 available podcasts because people have started them. They've gotten into 10 episodes. They don't like it, so they just quit. They've faded out after like 50 or 100 episodes. They're not doing it anymore. They've moved on to other things, but their stuff is still there. I know at least 2 podcasts that, I just don't want to do it anymore. I'm like, oh, okay then. And I can still go listen to their show. So what happens if someone has the podcast and they just don't do it anymore? Is it still on the channel as long as they keep paying, however it is a much to keep it on binge, or should they just keep producing content?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because when I first started going to these events, I'm like, oh, but I don't have a podcast. And then I went on iTunes, I was like, oh yeah, we did. Remember, like the first couple of years we had a podcast and there were hundreds of episodes up there. I completely was disconnected. Like I forgot that was part of it. So with binge, we don't want that to happen to anybody. We want them to continually produce content. So what I would recommend is use that content that you've already created and then use our platform to continually create new content. And that doesn't have to be a big Herculean thing. It can be as simple as using your iPhone. We teach you how to set it up properly with good lighting and good audio. And maybe once a week, you do some, 3-minute clips or a 10-minute, diatribe, whatever works for you. But you can leverage what you've already created that's already out there and just use us as a syndication to sort of add new life into that and then continually produce new content.
Love it. You guys are rocking this thing. You got this thing kind of figured out. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a lot of years. We've really cornered the market in smart TV and OTT, and it's exciting. We're bringing new shows onto the platform every week. And new distribution partners and new exciting things are happening. So it's really fun, and it's exciting to see what will happen next.
Love it. So what is on the table for you in 2019? What is that looking like so far?
So for us, we've finally as a company gotten to a place where all the bricks are laid, meaning we know exactly this next year what our core competencies are, what our focus is, whereas before we were just building. So right now where we are is we are going into these next 6 months, I say the first 2 quarters of the year, very, very strong. What we're looking for is we are looking for channels that have paid content ability. And what that means specifically is any podcast, any video creator where you have a following, and we can work with you as a partnership to monetize that following. So maybe you have, a few 100,000 listeners. We're going to put you on binge, and we're going to show you how, hey, you should be making, 10, 20,000 a month. And we work with you to do that. We're also looking for premium content. You'll start to see we're working with a lot of great shows like After Forever, which was a top Amazon Prime show, a lot of really hot cooking shows. And we're looking for great content like that from a viewer perspective that is really consumable and really interesting. And we're looking to bring on, like I said, we're looking to bring on about 500 new channels next year in 2019. But there'll be premium content and they'll be monetizable, meaning you either have content that people will pay for or you have a massive following that would warrant a subscription-based channel.
And I can see in the next, I want to say by the beginning of, or maybe even by the spring of 2021. I'd say by the beginning of 2021. Everybody will have that smart TV in their home, like everybody. I know so many people that are leaving like cable and everything, and they have like the $15 antenna, which we used to. What's funny is we used to have this when we were kids. Like, we had the rabbit ears, in the dial, and like you had the aluminum foil like attached to the rabbit ears. Like that's how you watch TV, at least when I was a kid. So now people have that antenna, but they have the Amazon Fire, or they have like a TV that has like Netflix on it or something. Like I know a lot of people who just don't have like DirecTV, or they have Roku, like they have, or Hulu and all that. Like they have these other like alternatives, right?
Yeah.
So I suspect that because the podcast market or industry is a $314 million industry, expected $314 million industry, that's how much money circulating through for advertising, sponsorships, for dumping money into this platform. I suspect that it'll double by 2020, and I suspect that by 2021, everybody will have a smart TV, and those apps and everything, that's just going to be the new thing. Like everybody's going to, like, what? Like, you don't have Bings? Like, what's wrong with you? You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah. No, it's so funny that you say that because we got, when we worked in New York, we had about 20 millennials that worked on our show. And I got a text from one of them the other day. She goes, oh my God, she's probably 24 herself, but she's like, I'm with my 18-year-old cousin, and she has Binge on her, like she had it somewhere, like either on her phone or something. She goes, I can't believe it, because those are like the hit people, the note, like they have their finger on the pulse of what's happening. And we were so excited about that. But I think you're right. And it really, like, we really want to be the go-to, now we're talking about Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and all those things. We want to be in that echelon of people for smart TV distribution. We want to be the go-to when you want your content out there. You come to us, and everybody has a channel, and people are making money, and everybody is happy. Like, what drives me back to the first question, that why, is like when we write that check for a content creator, oh my God, that makes me so happy every month, because that's what I went through. I was like, why can't somebody see the value? And it's like, we get your value, and we want you to be earning money on it. And so that's really, what we're super excited about going into this next year. I just want to be writing $1 million checks to people for their content, because that means everybody's winning. And so, that's our core. Like I said, we have all the bricks laid. Now it's just about implementation, bringing on new channels. And that's what we're super jazzed about.
Love it. Absolutely love what you guys are doing. And you guys are revolutionizing the game. You guys are definitely ahead of, because I looked, I thought, like, let me see. Like, I went all Amazon. I went through, most of Amazon. I went through all of Netflix, and I didn't see anything about podcasts. I really didn't. And what I noticed was Facebook Watch is starting to put not just the Gary V's and the Grant Cardones and those people, but I've seen some people's Facebook Lives get put up on Facebook Watch, and I'm like, oh, okay. All right, okay. So it's not just those influencers, because that's what it is. Like, it's only those influencers that get on there. And so I'm like, how do people get on this thing? Like, so you're removing that barrier. Essentially, you're removing the barrier and saying, look, if you're a content creator, just come. Like, we'll make it happen for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it's so true. And, and again, be careful. Like, Facebook is they're starting to roll out the subscription-based, the Netflix thing, that, a lot of the features we have. But again, just be careful. Like, diversify. That's all I'm saying. We hope you'll come with us, but if not us, make sure you're diversifying, because you don't, like, in a moment's notice, they can change everything. And so you just want to make sure that you're being smart and running your content as a business.
100%. So as we start to close the show, we're going to do a shameless plug. You can plug your friends, quotes, websites, Facebook, products, services, programs, whatever it is that you want the audience to know. This is the time. So shameless plug moment, go.
You know what? We just want to offer your listeners a $500 off on any of our packages. So they can go to Binge Networks TV, click on Apply for a Channel, use the code BINGE, B-I-N-G-E, and get $500 off any of our packages. And like I said, we want to help you monetize what you've created. So get on over there, bingenetworks.tv, use the code BINGE, join us, and let's just make 2019 the best year ever.
Love it. Absolutely love it. So as we close, can you give us one nugget of knowledge that will motivate, transcend, and inspire someone to take action?
So what I would say is I'm talking to you. Like, people don't think that we're actually talking to them. They think we're talking to the Gary Vees or the other people or the people that have successful shows. I'm actually talking to you, the person that, wants this, meaning wants to create success, wants to create monetization, but doesn't do it for whatever reason. They're going to do it next year or tomorrow or next week or whatever the case is. And the reason I say that and why I'm so compelled is that I never thought it was me. I always thought that this type of opportunity was for someone like Marie Forleo or, Ali Brown or someone else, like not me. And it wasn't until I just took a risk and I took a step and I was like, oh, why not me? That I was able to create what we have today. And 4 years ago, or even 2 years ago, when I was about to throw up on, the Hudson running, I didn't believe what happened today was possible. And it's only because I had to take the steps and keep moving forward and keep pushing through challenges and take risks that we are where we are today. So whoever you are, whoever's listening that doesn't think it's you, it actually is you. And I would encourage you, to take a step and join us and make it your year.
Love it. Love it. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show and talking to us about what the future of podcasting and content creation is going to be. It's not just the Gary Vees and the Netflix original movies and Amazon Fire TV shows. Like, it's for everybody. And so I love what you guys are creating. So thank you so much for sharing that with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I'm such a huge fan of yours. I told you we have the Air Force connection because my brother is a lieutenant colonel, and I love your show. I love what you do for your listeners, and thank you so much, everybody, for sticking here today and just learning about what we have to offer.
Absolutely. So, Life Transformation Radio listeners, if anything resonated with you, if you want to know more about Binge Networks, go to all of these social medias right here, but specifically go to bingenetworks.tv. Go check it out. I'm telling you, if you don't get in now, you're going to be behind the curve, because this network, what she has created and her team, is going to be the new Netflix. It's going to be the new Amazon Fire. And so get in now. She's offering an amazing discount. Go to bingenetworks.tv. Go check it out. You can also subscribe, rate, and review Life Transformation Radio on all of the podcatchers, and you can join the Facebook community, Life Transformation Radio community. Never miss an episode. As we close the show, I always say, live your brand. Find opportunities every day to live out the core values that you hold deep in your heart. And I call this living your brand. So until next episode, live a great life.
Skydiving. This is amazing.
Yeah, but you know what else is amazing? An iPhone 6S for just $49 at Metro.
Really?
Imagine streaming all the way down with that amazing camera.
I'm switching. That's smart.
You know what else is smart? Parachutes.
Switch to Metro and get an amazing iPhone 6S for only $49. Metro by T-Mobile. Phone offer requires port-in of number not currently active on T-Mobile network or active on Metro in past 90 days. See store for details and terms and conditions.